just right. Yee, brother. You can be my new thing.
Guys, Nate here, coming at you with another video featuring my 99 Honda Civic. Today we're going to be talking about Lost Motion Control Assemblies, specifically for VTEC cars such as a D16Y8 or even B series also have this problem. So I've had to put a motor in the car. I blew it up driving out to Ann Arbor for work last winter. So I put a motor in it, and one of the things that's always plagued this car since the new motor is a lifter tick from hell that I've never been able to figure out. I've set valve lash multiple times, you know, triple checked everything, made sure it was good, but it's always had a tick, and the car always ran fine. It's just it always had a tick, and it's fucking annoying. But after stumbling upon a forum today, I think I might have finally found the gremlin that's been plaguing this motor. So we're gonna get into it. So diving into it, here is a D16Y8 head that was actually off my old motor that blew up. How it blew up was it ended up spinning a rod bearing, and then it just kind of ate itself up. It started knocking when I was almost to work, when I was working out in Ann Arbor, and then it made it about 7 miles home before it really started knocking, and I just towed it home. I didn't even want to blow it up. I already knew it was done for. But I'm hoping that these LMAs are still good, and if they are, I can put them in that, and hopefully that'll fix the issue. So with that being said, I'm gonna show you guys what these are and how they work. Okay, so the LMA, or Lost Motion Assembly, is these little dudes right here. There's 4 of them. So you have your 3 rocker setup on your intake side of your head, right? And basically how this works is you gotta kind of understand how VTEC works to understand how the LMAs work. So everybody knows that with VTEC, everything runs off oil pressure. So when your VTEC solenoid senses that there's enough oil pressure, which mounts here on the back of the head, it sends oil pressure through the whole rocker assembly to lock these 3 arms together. And that's what gives you the more radical cam profile, the higher lift, the longer duration for more power. Now, when VTEC is not engaged, this rocker isn't really doing anything. So to keep these from just kind of flailing and, you know, flying around all about, Honda designed these LMAs to keep these in check. But as they wear out and get older, you put some serious mileage on them, which this one had 275,000 when it bit the bullet, they start making noise. And what it basically is the LMAs get stuck, or they start getting bound up, and they make a tapping noise. And it sounds like a lifter tick, but no matter how many valve adjustments you do, the ticking won't go away. Now, it's not detrimental to the motor. It's not going to hurt anything when they start doing this. It's just a noise you're going to have to deal with until it gets fixed or something else goes wrong. But yeah, so I'm going to pull these apart so I can show you how it works in more depth. Okay, so after getting everything apart, you do pretty much have to take apart the whole rocker assembly to get to the LMAs. So you got 10 12mm bolts, and then you got 2 10s on each side for the camshaft end caps that like kind of hold the seals and everything in. And then there's a 14 here as a little plug thing. I don't even know what it does. It's just there. I don't even know if it's necessary, but I took it out anyway. But once you get the whole rocker assembly off, it all comes on. It might be a little tough to get it apart because they do have dowel pins to help align everything. But you just kind of work it free and they'll come out. Here is the LMA assembly that sits on top of the rocker assembly. Everything gets bolted down together. And they just sit in these little slots. They just slide right out. I'm not familiar with these. This is my first time really messing with them, so I'm not really sure what the appropriate amount of, you know, springiness is, but they seem okay. But I'm definitely going to take them apart and clean them anyway, just to be on the safe side, because I need these, and I'm hoping they work. But it's definitely cool to see how Honda engineered all of this and how efficient it really all is. You know, obviously stuff wears out, and, you know, it's just the nature of the beast, you know. This motor had 275,000 on it when it bit the bullet, so You know, nothing's going to be perfect, but I checked out the cam and it's definitely seen better days. So you can see we got some normal scoring here, you know, where it just kind of rides along inside the head. But as you start looking at some of the cam profiles, there's definitely some wear going on, which is definitely to be expected in a high mileage motor. But I'm also willing to bet a lot of this is probably from when it spun that bearing and started eating itself, and it was just sending all the metal through the whole oiling system. And I know that the VTEC solenoid has a screen in it, but obviously it only does so much because there's still oil ports in the head and everything else. So obviously it's going to get in from somewhere and it's going to wreak some havoc. But definitely wild to see. This is my first time really diving into a head on a D series. I'm still kind of new to the whole Honda scene, so I'm just kind of learning as I go. But I'm really hoping that the LMAs, you know, cleaning them up and everything does the trick. So I'm going to try and get these apart and see what we can do about them. Okay, so after messing with these for the past 45 minutes, I have confirmed that I, on my own, for whatever reason, cannot get these apart. They just got little C-clips in them. They just sit in the body of the LMA just to hold the whole like spring and everything together. And I cannot get them out. So plan B, I love plan B, is I'm just going to hose them with some brake cleaner, some starting fluid like there's no tomorrow. And hopefully if there's any metal in, it'll come out. And yeah, after that, when I'm happy with all this junk going on, I'm gonna let them soak in some new oil just so they can saturate, and you know, I can then again check to see that they work properly, and it seems like all of them do so far. And then I guess I'll pull the Honda in and slap them in, and we're gonna see how it goes. I might like this. It's almost 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm out here messing with this junk, trying to be productive. It might fix the issue. I really hope it does. Or it might not, and it might just all be a big waste of time. But, you know, learn something new every day at 4 in the morning. Why am I like this? All right, so all 4 LMAs got cleaned and hosed out, and they still seem pretty promising. So now I got them soaking in oil, getting some exfoliation going on, know what I'm saying? And I guess in a bit we'll come back out here and get the Honda pulled in, start tearing it apart, and throw these bad boys in. Well, it is tomorrow here at the garage, and I've had the LMAs soaking overnight. So now we're just gonna take it all apart, throw them in. If I do it right and don't mess it up, it might work. We'll find out. All right, so we're getting into it. So here is the LMA assembly on top of the head that's in the car. So this time around, all we have to do is take out the 12 millimeter bolts holding the assembly down. You don't need to take out those end caps because those are going to hold the rocker assembly down while we remove this. That way none of the valve lash or anything gets messed up. All we have to do is pull out the LMAs and swap them out. And hopefully it'll be a clean cut install and everything will just be great. Probably not, but we'll see. Okay, so I have the LMA assembly off. As you can see, everything's still nice and tidy. And you can see the contact point on the middle rocker. That's what the LMAs touch to keep the middle rocker in control, so it's not just flopping around. So that's the wear patch. So as you can see, I got the old one chilling over here, and some of this may be due to hydraulic bleed down, but some of them are definitely easier to push than others. Like this one don't really take much at all. This one's a little stiffer, this one's pretty soft, and this one's pretty stiff. So I'm pretty confident that this is the ticking, just because, you know, it does look like the motor's missed a couple oil changes, and I knew that when I had gotten the motor that it was pretty dark and probably a little gunked up. So this is just one of the ailments of that. is they just get gummed up, or things get hot and the springs kind of compress a little bit, and over time, you know, it just develops a tick. So I'm gonna do away with this whole piece. This is useless to me. And I got the old one from the old head all cleaned up, cleaned out all the ports and everything, make sure it all looks good. So I think this, paired with the cleaned up LMAs, I think it'll work pretty good. So I'm gonna start putting it back together and we'll see how it goes. All right, so the new LMA assembly is installed. Got everything snugged down. I'm gonna go back and torque everything now. And then I also just sprinkle a little bit of oil on top just to make sure everything's nice and lubricated and ready to go on the first startup. So I got some oil down in the LMA chamber and then in the oiling port for it as well. So I think I understand why these dry out the way they do. So the LMA assembly is the tallest thing on the motor, and obviously oil just kind of splashes around. And I guess in a perfect world, it would always work perfectly and there would never be an issue. However, because things get hot and sometimes, you know, they run a little low on oil or you skip an oil change, maybe these get gummed up and it just can't oil the LMA assembly as good as it should. And maybe that's the cause of it, I don't know. But fingers crossed it works. And yeah. So I'm gonna go through and torque everything, throw the valve cover on, hook everything back up, and we'll start it up and see what we got. Okay, everything's put back together. Breather hoses are hooked up. Got the ground strap back on, valve cover's on, all the bolts are tight, plugs are back in. Everything for the LMA assembly's torqued down. Oh boy. All right, so it runs. It doesn't tick. Yeah, this is the first start of the day. It's been sitting all night. So I'm letting it sit here and warm up, and we're gonna see how it's feeling when it gets to operating time. You know, once the tolerances and everything loosen up as it warms up, it might make some noise. I hope it doesn't. But that's what we're sitting here testing. So yeah, once it gets up to temp, I'll give you an update on how it's doing. What's up, guys? So I'm not sure what happened to the follow-up video of the car after it warmed up, but it's just kind of like gone now. So I'm just gonna explain what happened. So once the car warmed up and everything, it did develop a slight tick, which I expected. So I'm pretty sure all I have to do now is go back and set valve lash on it one more time, because I did have everything kind of taken apart. Anytime you mess with valve train, you want to go back and check your valve lash. That's like #1 golden rule. Can never go wrong. I didn't feel like doing it at the time because it was super cold and I just wanted to get the car done. But that seems to be the last thing. It's not ticking nearly as loudly as it was. So I'm really glad that it all worked out. If you have a tick on a Y8 or a B series, I don't know about Ks. I don't know enough about them yet. But for D and B series motors, this is definitely something you're going to want to look into if you have a tick you can't seem to get rid of. Because, like I said in the video, it's not anything that's going to hurt the motor, but I know for all you car people out there, especially on a daily drive or a car you drive very often, it gets annoying. And you're just like, oh, I just want to fix it and be done with it. I'm so tired of this. And that was my case. I was tired of listening to this lifter tick all day, every day. So, it seems like two B-Series OEM replacements and aftermarket replacement LMAs are more common to come by than Y8 parts for some reason. I'm not sure what the deal is. Maybe it's just not a common enough issue that they didn't feel they needed to make as many replacement parts, but that seems to be just the way it is. We are working with, you know, older vehicles. It's not like it's a 2020. So I imagine certain parts just aren't going to be as easy to come by. But yeah, if you have a tick that you can't seem to get rid of, this is definitely something you're going to want to look into. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys, you know, taking the time to watch the video and learn something new, just like I did at, you know, 3 o'clock in the morning. And, you know, keep learning, keep building, and thank you for your time. So take it easy, guys.